The sky above Earth shifts as an unnatural shadow spreads across the planet. At first, astronomers thought it was a passing anomaly, perhaps a rogue asteroid or a celestial body previously undetected. But as the massive alien warship settled into a orbit, its sheer size became undeniable. Cities fell into stunned silence as every screen, device, and signal was overtaken by a single broadcast. The galactic dominion had arrived. The transmission cut across all frequencies, from military channels to children's cartoons, interrupting broadcasts, live streams, and private calls. The image flickered before stabilizing, revealing an immense, alien warlord of the dominion. His elongated head bore a crown of jagged, chitinous protrusions, his many black eyes scanning with a predatory gleam. A series of mandibles twitched as he spoke, his deep, guttural voice resonating with authority. People of Earth, he declared, you are now subjects of the galactic dominion. Your history, your culture, your very existence has led to this moment. Your feeble world is but a grain of dust in the vast empire of the cosmos, and now, it belongs to us. You will surrender all weapons, all governing bodies, and submit to the will of the dominion. Resistance is futile. You have one planetary cycle to comply, or face the full wrath of our armada. Silence followed. Across the planet, world leaders scrambled, military forces prepared for the worst, and ordinary people watched with a mixture of awe, fear, and confusion. But then something unexpected happened. Social media exploded. Within minutes, the alien overlord's imposing image was turned into a meme. Someone edited sunglasses onto face with the caption, "Deal with it." Another user distorted his voice to make him sound like a chipmunk, setting his speech to electronic dance music. On live streams, influencers feigned exaggerated terror, then jokingly pledged their allegiance to the Dominion in exchange for not getting vaporized. Like and began trending. Hackers infiltrated the global news feeds, replacing salam transmission with looping gifs of confused cats and old alien invasion movie clips. Someone even him into a cooking tutorial, where the warlord was humorously explaining how to prepare the humans for conquest using a lasagna recipe. At first, the Dominion fleet dismissed this as noise, irrelevant distractions of an inferior species. But then the Earth's digital infrastructure did something unexpected. It started directly interfering with their systems. A small group of rogue hackers managed to tap into the Dominion's communication relays, replacing strategic warplanes with nonsensical Earth jokes. The flagship's onboard AI, designed to receive and process planetary intelligence, became overwhelmed with thousands of conflicting signals, some of which included song lyrics, riddles, and prank calls demanding to speak to manager. Inside the Dominion's command center, mandibles twitched with irritation as he observed his forces struggling to maintain operational efficiency. What is the status of planetary control? He growled. A subordinate, a smaller yet equally menacing creature, hesitated before responding. Supreme Warlord, the humans, they are responding oddly. Black eyes narrowed. Clarify. The officer pulled up the intercepted data. Holograms flickered to life, showing wave after wave of distorted, meaningless responses. Some humans had begun creating elaborate hoaxes, claiming they were secret galactic Dominion operatives trapped on Earth. Others flooded alien communication channels with terrible dead jokes, forcing Dominion translators to attempt deciphering phrases such as, "Why did the human bring a ladle to the bar? Because he heard the drinks were on the house." Watched, silent, as another transmission came through. A human appeared on the screen, wearing oversized sunglasses and a bathrobe. He reclined in a gaming chair, sipping from a large cup with a straw. "Yo, Bug King or whatever," the human said. "Quick question, do you guys take people for this whole surrender thing? Or like, can we you?" Claws flexed against the armrest of his throne. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. The human grinned. "Oh, we're just messing with you, man. But seriously, big fan of the whole galactic overlord aesthetic you've got going on. Real evil space tyrant vibes. Love it." He sipped from his cup, slurping loudly. Anyway, Gataran. Got a meme war to coordinate. Catch ya later, space bug. The screen cut out. Sat motionless for a long moment, his mind struggling to process what he had just witnessed. He turned to his advisors. Are they mocking us? The officer hesitated before nodding. It appears so, Supreme Warlord. The humans are not taking this seriously. Mandibles clenched. They will learn respect. Prepare the invasion. But even as the order was given, the Dominion's systems continued to glitch. Someone had managed to reroute the fleet's emergency distress beacons, causing every ship to broadcast "Hail Earth, home of the galactic champions" in glowing neon letters. Meanwhile, Dominion officers received nonsensical alerts such as warning. Human sarcasm levels reaching critical mass. Earth's response to the invasion was not fear. It was trolling. And as fleet prepared for battle, he had no idea that his greatest challenge would not be military resistance, it would be surviving the sheer chaos of humanity's unrelenting absurdity. The Dominion war fleet loomed in high orbit, their sleek, menacing vessels forming a blockade around Earth. On board the flagship Dread Apex, stood at the center of his command chamber, his patience wearing dangerously thin. His black eyes scanned the tactical displays, all showing an unchanging status. Earth's defenses remained idle, its planetary legions unresponsive, and its people, well, they were still laughing. Every intercepted communication from the planet contained bizarre, nonsensical messages, crude illustrations of Dominion warriors with exaggerated features, and an overwhelming flood of what the humans called memes. We have jammed their satellites, disrupted their communication networks, and broadcast our dominance across their feeble channels, growled, mandibles twitching with irritation. Why have they not surrendered? Hesitated before responding. Supreme Warlord, the humans seem to be distracted. He gestured toward the display. Instead of mounting a defense or attempting diplomacy, they have flooded our systems with false reports, strange cultural artifacts, and relentless mockery. Eyes narrowed. Show me. The screen flickered to reveal intercepted human transmissions. A man in what appeared to be a bathrobe and sunglasses lounged in front of a webcam, holding a slice of pizza. Hey yo, Bug Emperor. Quick question, do you guys, have Wi-Fi in space? Because our signal's kinda lagging with all your ships parked up there. Also, can you turn the big van 30 degrees to the left? It's blocking my sunset. Another transmission popped up, featuring a group of young humans gathered around a camera, dramatically waving at the sky. One of them yelled, "Hey, welcome to Earth. We'd offer you a tour, but we're all out of space bug repellent." They erupted into laughter before the feed cut out. Shifted uncomfortably. They have also engaged in mass psychological warfare, Supreme Warlord. Turned sharply. Explain. Hesitated. Then brought up Dominion internal logs. Reports streamed in from multiple warships detailing issues among the crew. Some warriors had become paralyzed with confusion after receiving cryptic human messages like, "We know what you did, and so does the moon." Others reported intense frustration at being unable to decipher what meant, as every attempt to research the term resulted in being trapped in an endless loop of a single human song. Even the ship's AI systems were failing. When the Dominion tactical officer had attempted to scan a data packet labeled "Important Human Surrender Documents," only to trigger a cascade of strange flashing images that fried the vessel's central processors. Another file, when opened, simply displayed an animated dog with the text, "Wow. Such invasion. Very doom. Many conquest. Wow." Clenched his claws into a fist. They mock us at every turn, yet they do not flee, do not beg for mercy, do not even acknowledge the severity of our presence. What manner of species refuses to take its own extinction seriously? Mandibles twitched in discomfort. Supreme Warlord, there is another problem. Our fleet's automated translation system has been compromised. Turned sharply. Compromised how? Tapped the controls, and suddenly, the ship's speakers crackled to life. Instead of the Dominion's standard war protocol messages, an artificial voice boomed across the bridge. Greetings, mighty space bugs. We have upgraded your boring old language system with some spicy new words. Now you can understand us humans even better. Prepare to be into oblivion, fam. Silence filled the room. Stared at, who hesitated before adding, it appears that human operatives, likely cyber warriors, have infiltrated our communication arrays. All Dominion messages are now being altered. Hissed in frustration. Altered in what way? Sighed and opened another channel. A transmission from another Dominion ship played, originally intended to be a beta stretchy briefing. Instead, the translation system had distorted it into something else entirely. Commandant, we finna roll up on these humans, no cap. But we gotta be with that stretchy, ya feel? Because, if we don't land this W, it's gonna be major cringe. We need that big energy out there. Pog moves only. Close dug into the meta of his throne. What does any of that mean? Voss was hesitant. We do not know, Supreme Warlord. Our linguists have tried to decipher it, but every attempt to research human communication patterns leads to deeper layers of nonsense. We are caught in what they call a meme spiral. Rose to his full height, his patience at its limit. Enough of this madness. Activate Aorbita bombardment. We shall burn their civilization to ash and carve our dominion upon their bones. Pressed the command, and the fleet's weapons primed for attack. Massive cannons aligned with planetary targets, energy crackling through the ship's weapon systems. Across Earth, humanity watched in anticipation, their screens filled with the ominous sight of alien warships preparing to unleash destruction. And then, nothing happened. The weapons powered down. Screens flickered with error messages. Confused Dominion engineers scrambled through the corridors of their ships, attempting to override sudden failures in their systems. Eyes widened in fury. What is happening? A new message appeared on the fleet's central interface. Bright neon text, written in human script, glowed across every display. Nice try, space bugs. But we hacked your GANs. Now, instead of blasting Earth, your weapons only fire confetti. And as if to prove the point, the flagship's main cannon let out a thunderous explosion, only for an enormous spray of paper strips to shoot into space. From the planet below, a synchronized roar of laughter erupted. The humans were not afraid. They were entertained. Mandibles trembled with rage. We are being humiliated. Lowered his head. Supreme Warlord, I fear we may have underestimated the humans. They do not resist conventionally. They resist with madness. Seeded as a new message popped up, this time from Earth's global defense network. It was simple, yet devastating. Try again, bug boss. We got all day. And so the war for Earth raged on, not with weapons, but with pranks, hacks, and an unrelenting tide of chaos that the mighty Dominion had no way to comprehend. The bridge of the dread apex was in utter chaos. Dominion officers scurried between consoles, their chitinous limbs clicking against the polished metal floor as they struggled to regain control of the fleet's systems. Error messages flooded the displays, the beta interface now cluttered with garish, flickering human phrases like get wrecked, char so char, conquest not found, and a persistent animation of a crudely drawn Dominion warrior slipping on a banana peel. Supreme Warlord loomed over the control panel, his mandibles twitching violently as he struggled to maintain his composure. The humans had not only disrupted their translation system and weaponry but had somehow infiltrated the Dominion's most secure data networks. Reports from other warships confirmed that entire databases had been replaced with nonsensical human files, beta plans overwritten by something called Shrek 2 Extended Edition. Turned sharply to his report, he barked, his voice seething with barely contained fury. Hesitated, his clawed hands fidgeting with the control interface, his posture betraying deep discomfort. Supreme Warlord, he began cautiously, the humans have launched what appears to be a information warfare assault. Our data encryption has been rendered ineffective. Our targeting systems have been replaced with alternative functions. Narrowed his eyes. Alternative functions. Exhaled in defeat and activated the display. Across the fleet, every Dominion warship had their primary targeting computers reprogrammed to display only one function. Draw a funny mustache on Supreme Warlord. A low growl rumbled in the Supreme Warlord's throat as the fleet's advanced AI dutifully carried out its new orders. On every screen, across every ship, his own image appeared, except now, Dominion warriors everywhere were forced to watch as crude digital mustaches, oversized cartoon noses, and various humiliating accessories were drawn onto his face in real time. Slammed a fist against the console. Enough! I will not be made a fool of by these primitive. Before he could finish, the bridge's primary view screen flickered and was abruptly overridden. A human transmission cut through Dominion security protocols with disturbing ease. The image that appeared was not a military leader, not a diplomat, not even an official representative of Earth. Instead, it was a single human male, seated in a chair, wearing what they called a Hawaiian shirt, and sipping from a beverage with a tiny umbrella in it. He exuded an air of absolute, carefree confidence. He took a slow sip of his drink, set it down, and leaned forward. "Hey, Supreme," he said casually. "Listen, we get it. You came all the way out here, parked your big scary ships in our sky, and now you wanna do that whole bow before us or perish routine." He waved a hand dismissively. "Classic invasion stuff. Very intimidating. But, we're kinda busy down here." Mandibles clicked sharply. "You there too?" The human raised a finger. "SHHH. I'm tucking." He grinned, taking another sip of his drink before continuing. "See, the problem is, we don't really do that whole surrender thing. Not our vibe. But hey, since you're here, why don't we make a deal? You turn around, head home, and we won't send you the file." Eyes narrowed. "The file." The human's grin widened. "Oh yeah, the file. The most cursed, most forbidden digital artifact in the history of the internet. The thing that breaks minds and ruins civilizations." He leaned in closer. "We call it the emoji compilation." A ripple of unease passed through the Dominion officers. Even without knowing what it was, the sheer confidence with which the human delivered the words sent an unnatural sense of dread through the warship's crew. Sneered. "You think your petty tricks will sway me?" The human simply shrugged. "Your call." He pressed a button on his console. Across the Dominion fleet, every screen was suddenly filled with incomprehensible horrors. Blurry, distorted images of grotesquely altered human symbols, drowned in absurd levels of saturation, blasted across every display. Their AI translators faltered, attempting to make sense of the chaos but only producing garbled nonsense. "Oh Lord Hikamat, detected, NBRUH. The psychological effect was immediate. Dominion officers recalled, their antennae twitching wildly as their superior cognitive functions began to unravel. The images made no logical sense, no tactical sense, nothing about them aligned with Dominion warfare doctrines. And yet, the sheer overwhelming absurdity of the data was impossible to ignore. Several officers collapsed to their knees, clutching their heads as they attempted to purge the horrific visions from their minds. Stumbled backward, his voice barely a whisper. "Make it stop." Gritted his teeth, slamming the emergency override. "Purge all systems. Reboot our displays. Shut it down now." But it was too late. The emoji compilation had spread like a virus. Dominion engineers screamed in horror as even their neural implants were overridden, forcefully projecting the images directly into their consciousness. The dread apexes, war engines flickered, power readings dropping erratically as Dominion warriors collapsed en masse, unable to withstand the sheer incomprehensibility of the assault. The human on the screen leaned back, sipping his drink again. "Man, that was fast," he mused. "Didn't even have to send the minion memes." His breath ragged, his army crumbling around him, forced himself to glare at the screen. "You demons." The human gave him a friendly wink. "Nah, just having fun. Anyway, Let us know if you wanna call this off. If not, we've got a whole archive of this stuff. And trust me, it only gets worse. The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge of the dread apex in stunned silence. The minion warriors lay twitching on the floor, their will to fight shattered. Shaking with fury, turned to, who barely managed to lift his head. Supreme Warlord, he croaked, we must retreat. We cannot fight this. Clenched his claws. He had led conquests across the stars, crushed entire civilizations beneath his heel. But against this? Against the raw, unfiltered chaos of human absurdity? There was no strategy, no countermeasure, no weapon that could fight back. His mandibles trembled as he hissed the words he had never spoken before. Aordan, the retreat. The Dominion fleet limped through the void, battered and broken not by superior firepower, but by sheer, incomprehensible human madness. The dread apex led the retreat, its war engines flickering erratically, the residual effects of humanity's digital onslaught still wreaking havoc across its systems. On the bridge, Supreme Warlord sat in stunned silence, his claws gripping the armrests of his command chair. Around him, his officers were still recovering, some trembling, others staring blankly at their consoles as if afraid they might awaken some new, horrifying anomaly. The ship's AI had been purged and rebooted 5 times, yet strange echoes remained. Glitches in the system that caused the minion text to flicker into incomprehensible phrases like, press F2P respects Aor, all Aor base are belong to us. Stood beside him, his normally rigid posture slouched with exhaustion. Supreme Warlord, he began hesitantly, we have crossed into safe space. The humans have not pursued. Did not respond immediately. His mind reeled, still struggling to process what had happened. He had led dozens of campaigns across the galaxy, crushed mighty civilizations, forced entire star systems into servitude. Never, in all his years, had he encountered an enemy that fought like this. No grand armadas, no desperate last stands, just pure, undiluted mockery. Humanity had not resisted their invasion in a way that he could counter with brute force. Instead, they had shattered his war machine with nonsense, broken his fleet's morale with what they called memes, and left his warriors reduced to cowering wrecks. Finally, exhaled a deep, weary breath. Show me the fleet's status. Hesitated, but with a nod, he brought up the tactical display. Even now, the Dominion warships struggled to restore full operational capacity. Entire divisions of elite warriors refused to interface with their neural systems, fearing another unexpected attack of incomprehensible imagery. The AI engineers had resorted to primitive manual controls just to keep the ships from spiraling into disarray. Reports from medical units detailed widespread psychological breakdowns. Dominion warriors, hardened in beta, now rendered useless by what when report described as a particularly violent exposure to the forbidden lore of the ancient Earth Internet. Some officers had begun experiencing auditory hallucinations, whispering that they could still hear the distant echoes of a minion meme lurking somewhere in the ship's systems, waiting for its moment to strike. Clenched his mandibles in frustration. How did this happen? He muttered, more to himself than anyone else. We are the Dominion. We have conquered empires. We have broken worlds. How could these madmen defeat us without ever firing a shot? Hesitated, then spoke carefully. Supreme Warlord, it is possible that we have underestimated the humans in a way we did not foresee. Shot him a glare, but pressed on. We assumed that their weakness lay in their lack of discipline, their inability to maintain a structured empire. But what if that very disorder is their strength? What if the humans do not fear war as we do, because they have already embraced a kind of madness beyond our understanding? The words sent a shiver through the bridge. Officers who had been listening in looked away, as if acknowledging the truth might give it more power. Claws tightened. He wanted to refute it, to declare that the Dominion was superior in all things. But the evidence was undeniable. The humans had not fought with strategy, nor with logic. They had fought with absurdity, and it had broken the Dominions' will to fight more thoroughly than any battle ever could. What do the humans say in moments like this? Muttered, eyes narrowed in contemplation. Hesitated, but then recalled one of the many phrases that had been forcibly burned into his mind by their digital assault. I believe, Supreme Warlord, he said carefully, they would call this getting trolled. The silence that followed was suffocating. Rose to his feet abruptly. Send word to High Command, he growled. We will regroup. We will recover. And then he trailed off. What? Attack again? Risk another wave of incomprehensible human horrors? The Dominion prided itself on its ability to learn from past mistakes, to adapt. But how did one adapt to an enemy that weaponized mockery? He exhaled sharply. No, he finally said. We will leave them be. Eyes widened in shock. You mean, abandon the conquest? Mandibles twitched in irritation, but he nodded. The Dominion conquers for strength, for power. To fall to brute force is acceptable. To fall to madness, his gaze darkened. That is something we cannot allow. The order was given. Across the Dominion fleet, the directive spread, do not engage humanity. The conquest of Earth was over. No formal treaties, no grand negotiations, just an unspoken agreement that this was a war they did not wish to continue. The Dominion would turn its gaze elsewhere, seek expansion in less volatile corners of the galaxy. Worlds that fought with weapons, not insanity. Races that feared war, not ones that laughed in its face. As the dread apex continued its slow retreat into the depths of space, turned his gaze toward the distant blue planet that had humiliated them so thoroughly. The humans would celebrate, he had no doubt. They would take their victory and spin it into another joke, another ridiculous legend to be passed down through generations. They would laugh at the great and terrible Dominion, mock them with their infernal internet creations. But even as his pride burned, even as he seethed with the bitter taste of defeat, could not shake one single, horrifying thought.